Freedom is more than a right, it is a responsibility. We live in a time where many people love the idea of freedom, but fewer are willing to live the discipline of freedom. Everyone wants liberty. Everyone wants rights. Everyone wants to say, I'm free. But true freedom is not simply the absence of chains. It is the presence of purpose. Freedom is not just being able to do what you want. Freedom is having the strength to do what is right. Because if freedom has no direction, it becomes chaos. If freedom has no values, it becomes selfishness. If freedom has no responsibility, it collapses under its own weight. And the same is true in faith. You can say you believe in God. You can say you believe in truth. You can say you believe in family. You can say you believe in freedom. You can say you believe in justice. But if what you believe never shapes how you live, then your belief is only decoration. Belief without action is noise. Freedom without purpose is drift. Faith without works is dead. So today's message is simple. If you are free, then live free on purpose. If you believe something, then act like it matters. Purpose gives freedom direction. Let us begin with this truth. Freedom is a gift, but purpose is what gives that gift meaning. A ship can be free from the dock, but if it has no compass, it is not truly going anywhere. A person can be free from oppression, but if they have no values, they can still live enslaved. Enslaved to fear, distraction, laziness, selfishness, and confusion. And that is where many people are today. They are legally free, but mentally trapped. Socially free, but spiritually lost. Able to choose, but unwilling to choose well. That is why Joshua stood before the people and said, "Choose you this day whom ye will serve." In other words, your freedom means nothing if you refuse to decide what you stand for. Purpose begins when you stop floating and start declaring, "This is what I believe. This is who I am. This is what I will stand for. This is how I will live." Freedom is not fulfilled by comfort. Freedom is fulfilled by calling. You are not set free to wander. You are set free to walk in truth. You are not given breath to merely consume life. You were given breath to contribute to life. You were not born just to exist. You were born to build, serve, defend, lead, and love with intention. Freedom without purpose wastes the gift. Belief must become behavior. Now here is where the message gets real. Many people today are in love with statements, but allergic to sacrifice. We have a world full of slogans, but not enough substance. A world full of opinions, but not enough obedience. A world full of declarations, but not enough demonstration. That is why James says, "Faith, if it hath not works, is dead." James does not say faith is emotional. He does not say faith is decorative. He does not say faith is a bumper sticker, a t-shirt, or a social media post. He says if faith does not move, it is not alive. And the same is true beyond religion. If you say you believe in family, show up for them. If you say you believe in truth, speak it even when it costs you. If you say you believe in freedom, defend it. If you say you believe in community, serve it. If you say you believe in God, walk with integrity. If you say you believe in America, help strengthen her, not just criticize her. Because belief that never becomes action is just performance. Let me say that again. Belief that never becomes action is just performance. And too many people are performing conviction instead of living conviction. God is not calling us to perform what sounds righteous. He is calling us to practice what is righteous. Freedom requires moral courage. Now here is what separates passive people from purposeful people. Moral courage. Because acting on what you believe will cost you something. It may cost you comfort. It may cost you popularity. It may cost you approval. It may cost you convenience. It may cost you relationships. It may cost you the easy road. But truth has always required courage. It took courage for men and women throughout history to stand against tyranny, to defend liberty, to protect families, to speak when silence was safer. Freedom has never been preserved by spectators. It has always been carried by people who said, "I will stand. I will serve. I will not bow. I will not be silent. I will do what is right, even if I must do it alone." That is courage. And courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in spite of fear. Some of you already know what you believe. You just haven't fully acted on it yet. You believe you should forgive, but you haven't moved. You believe you should lead your home, but you've hesitated. You believe you should start serving, but you've delayed. You believe you should speak truth, but you've remained quiet. You believe you should live with more discipline, but you keep postponing. And today, the Spirit is saying, stop waiting for perfect conditions to do what conviction already told you to do. Purposeful freedom requires movement. Freedom is not selfish, it is stewardship. One of the greatest misunderstandings in our culture today is this. People think freedom means, I can do whatever I want. But Scripture teaches something deeper. Paul says in Galatians, Ye have been called unto liberty. Only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. In other words, freedom is not a license for selfishness. Freedom is a calling to stewardship. A free person should not ask only, what can I get away with? A free person should ask, what can I build? What can I protect? What can I improve? What can I contribute? What can I leave behind that blesses others? That is mature freedom. Immature freedom says, I'm free, so I'll live only for me. Purposeful freedom says, I'm free, so I can become useful. The highest use of freedom is not indulgence, it is service. And some of the strongest people in this world are not the loudest, richest, or most visible. Some of the strongest people are the ones who quietly raise children with values, work with honesty, care for their elders, defend what is good, serve their neighbors, and remain faithful when no one is applauding. That is purpose. That is strength. That is freedom rightly used. You cannot build a meaningful life on passive belief. Let's say this plainly. You cannot build a meaningful life on passive belief. You cannot build a strong family by merely wanting one. You build it through daily love, discipline, sacrifice, and leadership. You cannot build a strong nation by merely admiring freedom. You build it by citizenship, courage, responsibility, and truth. You cannot build a strong spirit by merely agreeing with good principles. You build it through practice. And this is where many people get stuck. They confuse agreement with alignment. Just because you agree with something does not mean your life is aligned with it. You may agree with honesty, but are you living honestly? You may agree with discipline, but are you practicing discipline? You may agree with faith, but are you walking by faith? You may agree with freedom, but are you using your freedom well? God is not looking for people who merely nod in agreement. He is looking for people who will stand in alignment. Your life should preach what your mouth claims. Purposeful freedom begins with a decision. Every meaningful transformation begins with a decision. Not a vague wish, not a someday thought, not a maybe later attitude. A decision. Joshua said, choose you this day, not next month, not when it's convenient, not after the world becomes easier. This day, there comes a moment when every person must decide, will I live by drift or by conviction? Will I be moved by pressure or by principle? Will I merely admire what is right, or will I act on it? Will I waste my freedom, or will I honor it? And hear this clearly. A life of purpose is not found. It is chosen. Too many people are waiting to find their purpose, while refusing to commit to anything meaningful. But often, purpose does not appear before action. Often, purpose becomes clear through action. When you begin to serve, you discover strength. When you begin to lead, you discover calling. When you begin to stand, you discover conviction. When you begin to obey, you discover direction. Purpose grows where commitment lives. Jesus shows us freedom with purpose. If we're going to speak of freedom with purpose, we must look at Christ. Jesus was not passive. Jesus did not merely talk about truth, he embodied it. He did not merely preach love, he demonstrated it. He did not merely teach sacrifice, he lived it. And when he walked this earth, he showed us that true freedom is not rebellion against all authority. True freedom is being so aligned with truth that no lie can own you. That is why Jesus said, if the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed. That kind of freedom is deeper than politics, deeper than culture, deeper than circumstances. It is the freedom to live unchained by fear, unchained by guilt, unchained by confusion, unchained by the need for everyone's approval. And when a person is truly free in spirit, they can finally live with holy purpose. Jesus did not die so that we could become spiritually lazy. He died and rose so we could become spiritually alive. And an alive spirit does not sit forever. It answers the call. What does acting on belief look like this week? Now let's bring this out of the clouds and into real life. What does this sermon mean for us right now? It means this. Act on what you already know is right. This week, if you believe in prayer, then pray. If you believe in your family, then lead them. If you believe in healing, then take the first step. If you believe in discipline, then start today. If you believe in service, then volunteer. If you believe in truth, then stop compromising. If you believe in forgiveness, then release the bitterness. If you believe in freedom, then live responsibly and courageously. If you believe in God, then trust Him enough to obey Him. Do not underestimate the power of small, faithful actions. A purposeful life is not built in one giant moment. It is built in daily acts of alignment. One honest choice, one courageous conversation, one disciplined morning, one act of service, one refusal to quit, one step of obedience at a time. That is how freedom becomes fruitful. Hear me. You are not created to live asleep. You are not created to drift through your days. You are not created to be a spectator in your own calling. You were made to live with conviction. You were made to live with strength. You were made to live with purpose. And if you are blessed with freedom, whether spiritual freedom, personal freedom, or national freedom, then honor that gift by using it well. Do not just say what you believe. Live it. Do not just admire what is good. Defend it. Do not just talk about truth. Walk in it. Do not just celebrate freedom. Use it with purpose. Because in the end, the world is not changed by people who merely feel strongly. The world is changed by people who act faithfully on what they believe. I was not given freedom to waste it. I was given freedom to use it with purpose. I will not live by fear. I will live by faith and conviction. I will not drift through my calling. I will act on what I believe. I will stand for truth. I will walk in courage. My faith will not be empty words. My faith will be seen in how I live. I am free, and I will live free on purpose.